This message comes from Amazon Pharmacy. Ever looked a pharmacist in the eye and said, "Hi, I'm here to pick up my cold sore prescription"? Amazon Pharmacy delivers right to you, so you can get meds without your lip doing the talking. Amazon Pharmacy.
Hello, hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. Have you or someone you love been confused by the push to make America healthy again? Side effects may include being inundated by uncredentialed wellness influencers and crunchy mommy bloggers selling supplements. Feeling perplexed by how RFK Jr. went from an environmental champion to an anti-vax conspiracy theorist. Or maybe seeing the names Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz more and more in your feeds. If that's the case, then you, my friend, are in dire need of our new series. The Road to Make America Healthy Again.
Don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again?
For the next few weeks, we're delving into some of the origins, conspiracy theories, and power grabs that have led us to this moment, and what that could mean for our health. Today, you and I are going to go down the crunchy to conservative pipeline, with some guidance, of course. Now, when you hear the word crunchy, you may think about hippies in the 60s and 70s, or people making their own kombucha, practicing veganism, folks with left-leaning politics who are living off the land, stuff like that. But these days, that's not quite right.
That also is a misnomer if you think it's only always been hippies or leftists, because the very ideology of conservatism is this notion of protecting what has already existed, and we want to keep perpetuating that.
That is Derek Barris, writer and co-host of the Conspirituality podcast, a show dedicated to dismantling New Age cults, wellness grifters, and conspiracy-mad yogis. And he says that the link between this return to nature ideology and conservatism is a pattern we've seen throughout history.
You referenced the 60s and hippies. Well, you had the John Birch Society, which was a conservative organization in the 1960s that spread a lot of misinformation in order to drive people toward conservative values. That was agreeing with a lot of the hippies and actually influencing them at that time on things like fluoride in the water.
Now, you may be wondering, what does a crunchy conservative look like today? Well, there are the crunchy moms.
I'm a crunchy mom. Of course I'd rather go thirsty than drink tap water. I'm a crunchy mom. Of course I assume nobody uses fluoride anymore, right? I'm a crunchy mom. Of course I'm not using...
The wellness influencers who spread misinformation about the food we consume.
Did you know that this toxic chemical could be on your food?
Even right-wing commentators who suddenly have the cure for poisons and toxins.
We are being poisoned. Our fertility is being targeted, and it's dropping across the Western world. Ladies and gentlemen, Anthroplex is the newest addition.
And more.
You have this kind of ecosystem where now it's the wellness industry and all these podcasters who are telling you the truth that the scientists and the doctors and the government are hiding from you. And that has led to the explosion of kind of this alt-right wellness industry.
That is Dr. Andrea Love, a biomedical scientist who has been ringing the alarm on the harm of pseudoscience, conspiracy theories, and, of course, crunchy conservatism.
If you look at people who believe in those medical conspiracies, like we're hiding the natural cures for cancer or fluoride is in our waters poisoning us, those same people that believe those, they're the ones that participate in the wellness behaviors like eating organic, going to the farm stand, and taking supplements and herbs and vitamins. And simultaneously, they're the ones that are not doing the proven things to improve health, like preventive well visits, vaccines, wearing sunscreen, and going to the dentist.
And somehow these conspiracy theorists, anti-vaxxers, and wellness influencers have coalesced under the Make America Healthy Again banner and its leader, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
The water is toxic, the food is toxic, the vaccines are toxic. Well, parents are going to resonate with that because they want to do what's best for their kids.
Listen, this is a lot, but Don't worry, Derek and Andrea are going to walk us through this meeting of the minds between what we thought was the far left and the ethos of the right. Where do you think this intersection, this crossover between crunchy and conservative is rooted?
My personal feeling is that the crossover is rooted in individualism. So a lot of the times when you see wellness influencers talking about the universal application of their products and supplements, they really mean a specific audience that has the time for it and that can afford it. Because to partake in that industry, you have to have a certain level of privilege. And that is rooted in this sense of individual responsibility when it comes to health.
I think we have this more obvious convergence of political ideologies. The ultimate passage of the 1994 Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, which was bipartisan. It was led by Orrin Hatch and Tom Harkin. And that basically removed all of the oversight and regulatory ability of the FDA to make sure that supplements were safe and produced with quality. They're still not really effective. In addition to all of that, lobbying organizations of organic farmers wanted to have a certification created by the USDA, but the products that they're producing are not more eco-friendly. They're not more nutritious. You have a lot of eco-conscious people who have been misled that organic is pesticide-free and they're just naturally derived pesticides as opposed to ones that have been altered. And the irony as a biomedical scientist is that the way in which we create a cell therapy for cancer and the way in which we create a genetically engineered plant for farming, it's the exact same scientific principle. It's just what species you're working on.
You all have pulled up so many different historical examples of how this kind of crunchy granola or crunchy conservative thinking has crested at different points in time throughout American history. But I wonder, why are crunchy conservatives so prominent right now?
I think a lot of it really is you have this kind of ecosystem where now it's the wellness industry and all these podcasters who are telling you the truth that the scientists and the doctors and the government are hiding from you. And that has led to the explosion of kind of this alt-right wellness industry. And this has kind of converged with the growth of increasing health anxiety as a result of the COVID pandemic, where people, they're looking for voices who are going to tell them the quick fixes to take control of their health.
There has been a long-standing conservative anti-intellectual movement in America, but that's become a real anti-expert movement. And that is partly driven by the fact that wellness influencers, you're looking at Gwyneth Paltrow selling supplements, and people on the right, Alex Jones selling supplements, they have a vested interest in saying that doctors don't know what they're talking about. You should do this for your health.
Coming up,
he was going to crypto conferences. He is known as an environmental champion, although if you look back at that track record, there's a lot we can pick apart from that as well. But he built up his brand, his name, through the vaccine lawsuits.
How crunchy conservatives found RFK Jr.
This message comes from Amazon Health. Have you ever been so sick that even the thought of standing up to go to the doctor made you even more sick? Amazon One Medical has 24/7 virtual care, so you can get help while horizontal. And with Amazon Pharmacy, you can get medicine delivered fast right to your door. You just have to make it to your door. Thanks to Amazon, healthcare just got less painful.
This message comes from Strawberry.me. You've worked hard to get where you are, but what's next? Strawberry.me Career Coaching helps professionals like you take the next big step with confidence by matching you with a certified career coach who understands your goals and challenges. This isn't just advice. It's a personalized, results-driven approach to uncover hidden strengths, overcome obstacles, and accelerate your career growth. Visit strawberry.me/NPR to claim your $50 credit. This message comes from Grainger. If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment to help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done. This message comes from Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile took what's wrong with wireless and made it right. They offer premium wireless plans for less, and all plans include high-speed data, unlimited talk and text, and nationwide coverage. See for yourself at mintmobile.com/switch.
I hear what both of you are saying, but for a lot of groups, this skepticism of experts, doctors, the medical system, science, that skepticism has some historical grounding. I mean, I'm thinking about the inadequate research around diseases that primarily affect women, about the unethical medical experiments done to Black and Latino people in the United States. Now, I imagine that also factors into some of the skepticism that people feel.
That's exactly right. And I think this is actually something that is deliberately exploited by these people who are pushing the contrarian anti-science rhetoric, right? Whereas instead, where we could be having a legitimate conversation about something like Tuskegee.
And I just want to step in here because there's a lot of misinformation about this incident in particular. So for those of you who don't know, Tuskegee refers to the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male, which ran from 1932 to 1972. Now, the study was meant to observe the effects of untreated syphilis in Black men, but the researchers of the study did not collect informed consent from their subjects. And when a treatment was made available for syphilis, the researchers did not offer them the treatment. Contrary to popular belief, the men were not given syphilis. They were chosen because they already had syphilis and were not given treatment for the disease. But because of the legacy of this experiment and many others, there has been an understandable distrust of doctors among some people in the Black community.
Right. And as a result of that, we have really strict laws about human subjects and human clinical research to avoid those things that were conducted very unethically. Or when we talk about how women were not historically included proportionally in clinical trials, and laws have been implemented and regulations have been implemented because we know as scientists and as healthcare providers that when we don't appropriately run clinical research where we include the actual groups of people that need to be represented, the data can be impacted, right? That's why we talk about study design and sample size and why you can't use a mouse study to make human claims. And as a result, starting in the 90s, we've seen a dramatic improvement in participation in clinical trials, which then informs our therapeutic development. The infrastructure, the institutions have learned from this. And these things were bad, and that's been acknowledged, and we're doing better as a result. What ends up happening is instead of talking about that, they say, oh, well, they don't care about you. That's why they did this. And we talk about things like how the FDA has really strict oversight, and then it's inevitably, well, the opioid epidemic. And that is a really complex topic. But it completely derails any conversation about the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of medicines that are safe and regulated and overseen by the FDA.
I want to zoom out for a minute. There's a big elephant in the room that we have been discussing in terms of the prominence of crunchy conservatives right now. And that's the Make America Healthy Again movement, aka MAHA. And as I've looked into the MAHA movement and kind of like who's a part of it, it's not one group of people who follow, conservative ideology. It's several different groups coming together. Derek, I would love to hear from you on this. Talk to me about some of these different crunchy conservative archetypes.
When RFK Jr. was running for president, one of the things that Kennedy did really well is picking off fringe groups. He was going to regenerative agriculture conferences. He was going to crypto conferences. He is known as an environmental champion, although if you look back at that track record, there's a lot we can pick apart from that as well. But he built up his brand, his name through the vaccine lawsuits. what he did was he took all of these fringe groups and he kind of brought them together under his larger brand. Going back to your last question, there are a lot of people who are rightfully skeptical of a for-profit healthcare system. In fact, having interviewed dozens, if not hundreds, of healthcare experts over the years now, I haven't met one doctor or researcher who said, yeah, I love our system. People within the system know it's broken and know the problems with it. But what MAHA has been able to do is exploit that gap in knowledge and just paint them with a broad brush. And unfortunately, because so many people suffer under capitalistic healthcare, they feel that sort of pain that they might have experienced. And it's very easy to indoctrinate people into your group or your mindset when people have that distrust.
How exactly did he become a leading voice for crunchy conservatives?
You could start to see some of these themes last summer when Ron Johnson hosted the Congressional Roundtable on Nutrition and Health, and it had Callie Means, RFK Jr., Vani Hari, Brigham Bueller, Jillian Michaels, all people that are MAHA. But the on-ramps, they all pick at these individual ideologies that resonate with these different factions of people, right? So you're targeting parents and you're saying, oh, well, the water is toxic, the food is toxic, the vaccines are toxic. Well, parents are going to resonate with that because they want to do what's best for their kids. What they're not told is that RFK Jr. is spreading misinformation about modern farming tools like GMOs. He's the one that actually was one of the leading litigators making the false claims that glyphosate causes cancer, which has now been picked up by Moms Across America, by the Environmental Working Group, by Vani Hari, by all of these other activists that now tout that.
I would guess that there are a lot of not particularly crunchy Americans that are still really concerned about their health, but they might be eating a lot of processed foods or they might be vaccinated. So they don't subscribe to some of these emerging crunchy ideologies. But I'm wondering if the overwhelming majority of people, right, aren't necessarily following these ideologies, how does crunchy conservatism affect the majority of Americans? Like, how is this movement shaping all of us?
Oh, let me count the ways. I mean, I've written quite a bit about this in terms of the harm of legitimizing health disinformation and pseudoscience at a federal level. I mean, now that it's essentially been co-opted into the government, now you have someone who undermines things that save lives and prevent illness and improve health outcomes and also reduce healthcare costs for all of us. So everyone is going to be exposed to that. And as we're seeing measles outbreak continue to rage on, we're seeing vaccines continue to be undermined. Mm-hmm. That's going to cause preventable illness, preventable death. It's going to cause increased healthcare costs for all of us. And it's going to cause economic impacts for all of us.
Well, I appreciate you both coming on the show and talking with me today. I have learned so much here today.
Thank you for having us, Brittany.
Thanks for having us.
That was writer and co-host of the Conspirituality podcast, Derek Barris, and biomedical scientist, Dr. Andrea Love. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Alexis Williams.
This episode was edited by
Nina Patak.
Our supervising producer is
Barton Girdwood.
Our executive producer is
Verilyn Williams.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
This message comes from CarMax. Buying a car is a big decision, a decision you should feel absolutely confident about. And when you shop with CarMax, you will. Because CarMax offers a 10-day money-back guarantee, so you can feel confident that you made the right choice for you. If you're not completely satisfied with your decision, simply bring it back within 10 days for a full refund. Always shop with confidence at CarMax, the way car buying should be. See CarMax.com for details. This message comes from Synchrony Bank, who wants to inspire you to keep dreaming. Not the elevator plummeting, being chased by something, waking up in a cold sweat kind of dreaming. They're talking about the goal-setting, retirement planning, sail off into the sunset kind of dreaming. The ones that start with saving smart. Open an account with a great rate in 5 minutes or less in the Synchrony Bank app and dream on. Go to synchrony.com/NPR. Member FDIC. This message comes from the Nature Conservancy, working together to create a future with a livable climate, healthy communities, and thriving nature. Explore ways to act during Earth Month and every month at nature.org/NPR.